I know you'll think that this is really not a time to be streaming at all because Richard Spencer is strutting his stuff, but I wanted to say a few things before I go to bed. It's quite late now. In my view, I don't think he has said anything of any significance at all. So, it's mostly about the American elections. Who knows, it might even be cancelled with the way things are going because we don't seem to know what we're doing from one day to the next. What I wanted to say was, okay, I'll start again. I heard Kevin Michael Grace talk about Peter Hitchens' piece in the Mail. I actually was aware about it a few days ago at the weekend, and I didn't read it because I imagined he would be complaining about the same old, and really he was. But it's the way Kevin reads it, and I thought I'd give it more emphasis. I think it's important to work out what is happening. This is all about inductive and deductive reasoning as well, and if I go slowly, perhaps you'll be able to digest it. Hello, Connors. I don't know what's happening with the algorithms. I noticed that Richard Spencer was also complaining. I had a look at Luke Ford's stream a few hours ago, and it was, well, kind of like mine in terms of numbers. I think it was 7 or 8 or something really crazy like that. So something's happening to the algorithms, and I don't know. I think we should just, obviously they're trying to demoralize us in every way. They've kind of flagged us because of the content and whatever, and there is, I'm sure, a psyops operation against us by, deliberately suppressing our subscribers, our viewing numbers, and just so we'll just be demoralized. But I'm really not bothered. I don't. You see, I really think I talk when I feel I have something to say. So I will be talking about Peter Hitchens' article. I'm not just sort of here for the super chats like Richard Spencer, not saying anything of any particular substance except looking pretty with my stubble. So I will go through this article with you. I'll put it in the chat, so you might find it useful to refer to if you want to do that. Yeah, I think Connor said. Did you get the? I'm just checking if you got the link. Yeah, I think you did, because he looked a bit funny on. So, I noticed a reduction in viewing figures, as well as a reduction in the streams. Fewer people seem to be streaming. So, obviously something has happened, and it's happened globally. But things still need to be said. Conclusions need to be expressed. I mean, I'm in a way, I'm quite pleased there are developments, but perhaps they're all in my head because I am an intellectual, and therefore all the activity just takes place in my head. I try to express them, but if nobody understands them or acts upon them, I guess I might as well have not bothered. So I do it for my own sake. I think it is necessary for me to express what I think, what I have concluded, in the hope that eventually there will be enough honourable and influential people agreeing with me and adopting my recommendations. So the gist of Peter Hitchens' article in the Mail is that one should not believe in experts. And I said earlier that it's that there are different ways of knowing and deciding things. So we have inductive reasoning, which is working out if something is true or not, whether it's likely to happen or not. And we have deductive reasoning, which is, I would say, rationalist. So you conclude using two separate pieces of fact. You deduce from it's really a syllogism. Really, it's like, if all men are mortal and Socrates is a man, he must also be mortal. So it's really that's deductive reasoning, okay? And inductive reasoning is all swans appear to be white until you come across a black one. So you don't know. You're constantly looking up data in order to see if the position that you believe it to be is correct. So you might think that the sun goes around the earth until you find evidence that it doesn't. But and of course our reasoning may be faulty. The facts that we rely on or the opinions that we rely on may be faulty. So we are in a state of constant flux. But as far as I'm concerned, if something is generally agreed upon and nobody is seriously disputing anything, well, then it might as well be true. So if you lived in a society where everyone thought that the world was flat, and it just, if it were never an issue, if nobody thought to argue about it and nobody thought to prove it wrong, then it just isn't an issue, and it's a non-issue. So no lives were lost, no opportunities were lost because of the wrong apprehension of a state of affairs. So only when something is disputed, does it become an issue. And of course, Boris Johnson's strategy is an issue. And what we don't want to happen is to go through all this for nothing. To get the worst of both worlds, to quarantine ourselves, destroy our economies, and then, when we go back, it just hits us again. And, it's crazy that we're supposed to close down our economy, locked down for 2 years. I mean, it's crazy. What are they doing? It just makes me think of the Aztecs. So even statistically, it's like 2%. So 100%. Okay, sorry, 100 people. Okay, out of all the people who get coronavirus, it means 2% die. I think it's perfectly acceptable. What's a big deal? Why are we closing everything down? And also, it's highly suspicious that Boris basically said he was going to go with the herd immunity strategy, which was to basically let us all get it. Until 60% of us have got it, and then we have our herd immunity. And then I said he was a convictionless cunt because he changed his mind, because he allowed the experts to frighten him, because they'll say, "Oh, you don't care about it, people," and because he's just weak and a convictionless cunt, he caved in. People without principles are like that. They're easily frightened, easily threatened, easily bribed. And sadly, these shit Etonians is, that's how they think, that's how they behave, because they have no principles. They're not even taught it at school. They don't believe the religion that they call Christianity. So the whole thing is fucked, basically. So we don't believe that our leaders know what they're doing. We think we know better. And that's why there will be people who will, people in the north who took the opportunity over the weekend, fine weather, they went to the beach. They went to the seaside resorts, the seaside towns of the north. And why shouldn't they? Because we're all going to die anyway, right? So why not enjoy a few nice days by the seaside and not take seriously the stupid advice that, well, the advice what we perceive to be stupid, draconian measures for a 2% mortality rate? Come on. We know it doesn't make sense. So why are they doing this? Are they completely power crazed? Do they think they have our support? Did they even ask us? Why don't they ask us? What does YouGov say? Is YouGov doing a survey? Are they putting it forward? Let's have a look. Because last time I looked, YouGov was saying nobody believes, nobody's taking it seriously. They don't think that these draconian measures are justified. So why are they doing this? Okay, YouGov. COVID-19. So, we don't know if China's out of danger. They're only going to go back to work, back to school next month, and then it might have mutated, and it'll get most of them. So we don't know. But anyway, expert opinion, this herd immunity thing, it's been proven before. Okay. And it's like, we know it's contagious. They know we hate our government. We don't trust any bloody thing they say. So people are just going to avoid it and flout it. And what, they're going to shoot us for wanting to go for a walk or jog or whatever? They know they can't stop it. So they're destroying their own economies for nothing. If they want martial law for other reasons, well, just do it while everything's still working. Okay, it's got 3 days ago, COVID-19 tracker, how public opinion is responding around the world. Well, it's like most people think it's stupid, okay? People who have businesses to run, I'm saying rich and poor people, rich and poor people think this is fucking stupid. And you can't, you don't usually get rich and poor people agreeing with each other. Do we? I mean, soon people will say, just let us die, for God's sakes, And of course it can be managed, the back to work thing. Just hire me and I'll manage it. There's no particular, well, I'm just skimming through it, but it's not saying anything substantial. But, YouGov got Brexit wrong, didn't they? Because the owner wanted to remain, so he allowed his desire to remain in the EU to cloud his opinion. So God knows what's his name, Peter something or other, who owns it. So basically, I'm saying that the governed don't trust their elite. And you listen to their, beta male voices on Radio 4, totally without conviction. That they just have this just shitty beta male accent. I can't even begin to describe it. I'm trying to think of this general, what's his name? I don't even remember his name, but he talks like that. It's a generational thing, and he sounds like a civil servant. This general, oh, let me find his name. But yeah, it was a shock to hear, for me to hear his voice, and then of course he supported all the stupid neocon wars. Let me see his name again. I don't even know how to look it up now. I mean, the only name of a general that comes to mind is General Peter de la Billiere, and that's not him at all. Oh, God. British generals. Because I'm just trying to think of this really stupid, pathetic beta male accent, and I really hate it. And they sort of do it for, for the sort of automated things like tills and whatever, and they get this kind of voice to speak to us. It just sounds competent, but a bit lower class, that kind of thing. And I'm trying to find. I mean, that's the sort of English accent that I hate the most. This kind of generation of men, of gutless ciphers. And they're in charge, and you know what they're doing? They're playing safe. They're playing so safe that it's actually dangerous. I'm just going down the list of Wikipedia. I'll recognize the name when I see it. He does appear on radio a lot. You do hear him. That's why I remember that voice. Damn, I can't find it. Oh, when I find it, I think it's is it Richard Dannett? I'm not even sure now. Okay, I will look it up later after I finish the stream, because I know you'll find it tedious that I can't. I think it's Richard Dannett I'm thinking of, but I'm not absolutely sure. But when I heard the voice of a general talking in that horrible beta male accent, I just despaired. But anyway, that this is, how we are. We are degenerate. Nobody trusts anybody. Nobody listens to each other. You know, so, and we know that whoever's in charge are doing it wrong. They're abusing their power. And this is all because they are men of no principle. We know it. And they don't care. They just want to play it safe. Even if it destroys businesses and people's lives, they don't care as long as they play it safe, which can be actually very dangerous. And this is the kind of mindset that you come to when you are an aging population where the average age is 40, and therefore the average age of the average of the voter is 40. And so, if you ask who has more power, then it would be the woman, and the 40-year-old woman is usually a single mother who will not be wanting to take risks, as it doesn't profit women to take risks. And men have become women, so that's why they're behaving in this completely contemptible way. And they won't be able to put it up, and I know they won't be able to keep it up, and that's why they're trying to get more and more powers in order to keep the lid on the pot that's about to boil over. Come on, it's the summer. It's summertime, people. People are not going to stay indoors. So basically, Peter Hitchens was saying that he nearly had to have a nasty operation until a doctor who actually knew what he was doing came along and rescued him and basically said, this is all wrong, go and take these antibiotics and you'll be better. And he was indeed better, but he was dreading this invasive surgical procedure that he nearly had, but for this third doctor who actually read his notes. So the moral to be extracted from this is that don't always believe in the advice of experts. Use your powers of deduction, and even the experts don't deny that the mortality rate is 2%. So they're worried that, it's going to be the numbers of dead will overwhelm the hospitals. Not necessarily. Not necessarily if you're going to go for this herd immunity thing, right? Now think it through logically. If you want at least 60% of the people to get it, then you'll have to expose these people to it, and some of us will die. All right? We know that. So stick with this message, Boris, and go through with it. I know that President Macron threatened to close the borders, and that could be a little awkward, but I think you could give him a talking to, couldn't you? So basically, you could say to Macron that, it won't do him any good to close his borders, to close French borders to possibly diseased British people coming over, because actually a lot of diseased people are coming over anyway. Germany's got it, Italy got it bad, and Italians will travel. Come on, that's how it happened during the bubonic plague, right? And as for this crazy, he came from China, so therefore the Chinese had to blame. Well, the bubonic plague came from Central Asia. Was it China exactly? It came along the Silk Road. It arrived on a ship in Genoa. Europeans could say it came from Italy, couldn't they? The thing is, it doesn't matter, does it? Where it came from, it's here now. And these things do happen from time to time to Some say it's God sending plagues. Others say it happens, every now and then to thin our numbers. Environmentalists to want to say that there are too many people, too many of us, so this will be a good chance to have a nice clear out. It's springtime, isn't it? So really, we should just take it on the chin. I have actually given a list of how the medical services should be prioritized without, I might add, thinking of myself at all. So I suggested, this was after a Telegraph article I read about Italians over 80 will be left to die. I said that anyone over the age of, anyone who's been retired for over 5 years can be left to die. All right? Is that? Unless they're capable of being, useful, but we're not sure. But anyway, this is the rough rule of thumb. So if if you've had an enjoyable retirement and you've enjoyed it for 5 years, I think you can go, right? If there's going to be a strain on medical services, and of course, people who have a long criminal record, 3 convictions of a serious offence, they can go. NEETs who are sociopaths, psychopaths, or mentally ill, and with no prospect of ever getting a job, well, they can go, all right? Who should be kept? Well, I would suggest that, obviously everyone in the essential services, and this is going to be controversial, as to who is essential, but I think I would say plumbers, electricians, people who actually provide a service that isn't merely pen pushing. They can stay, builders, decorators, no pen pushers. Who can't tell you what their job is without, going into some spiel that nobody will remember or get. Those people can go, right? Unless they have dependents. I know I'd slightly revise my list, but it's not written in stone, it's not the final draft, but I think you get the gist of it. You get who will be most useful. Oh yeah, did I forget people with dependents? People with dependents should, of course, have medical services prioritized, and anyone capable of providing a unique or essential service that people actually want or can be retrained, well, they can stay. And then all we have to do is think of how to dispose of the piles of corpses that they seem to think are going to happen. But then we know what they did in during the bubonic plague. There would be wagons going past people's houses, and that there would be somebody who's obviously acquired an immunity to it saying, bring out your dead, and then you bring them out and you put them in a wagon, and that's all sorted, isn't it? I think we can sort things out. We are, after all, still an advanced civilization. And, it really is time for men to, be men and not be guilted into, say, by these old women saying, oh, but you don't care about us. You're mean. You lack empathy and shit like that. It is really women who, it is a womanish attitude I'm afraid, that all the world is getting. And I'm afraid it came from China, this overreaction. And probably the Chinese were overreacting because the Western nations were always saying such mean things about them eating dog and not caring about their people. And they thought, now they might show how much they cared by pulling out all the stops to contain the virus. And then, because the Western nations had been saying such mean things about the Chinese government, and when the Chinese government took such draconian measures and pulled out all the stops to save its people, Western nations felt embarrassed into not following suit. Isn't that really what's going on? And now that they all did the same thing, they feel they have to double down on it. But I think all that needs to be done is for one national leader to show some leadership and say, I was wrong. I was wrong to go for this stupid thing. I was wrong to be frightened by some experts into saying that we have to contain the virus. It can't be contained. We already know how infectious it is. It'll get in. So we'll just have to be exposed to it. And there might be a silver lining in this particular cloud. I still remember Professor June Andrews saying, well, it will clear out the bed blockers, wouldn't it? Yes, it would. It will clear out a whole bunch of things. And so we should have a springtime clear out. And if one Western nation should be able to show this leadership, the others will follow. So, the danger, I guess, of Macron saying he'll close the borders is the British thinking, oh, we'll starve, we won't have any fresh fruit, we won't have any food, or whatever. Well, we're all a bit overweight, aren't we? We can do without some supplies, but I think eventually you can say to the Frenchies that you're going to get it anyway. You might as well get your herd immunity thing as well. You also need a bit clear out, don't you, of your bed blockers. So let's go with this. And coordinate, a corpse disposal facility, I guess. And then, of course, coordinate some sort of message to give comfort to the bereaved, or the soon to be bereaved and the soon to be dying. I think we can do that as well. I mean, what is the problem? It can all be managed, but it doesn't have to be managed in this crazy, almost Aztec way. It is almost equivalent to that you have to sacrifice your economy just to, just like the Aztecs sacrificing lives, tearing the hearts out of living men, in order that the sun would rise again the next day. And they all believe that, and they all believe in the expertise of these Aztec priests. And it was all for nothing. And when the conquistadors came and they were so disgusted by it, well, that was the end of the Aztecs. Will it be the end of the West if it refuses to pull itself away from the brink of matriarchy, of this old womanish risk-aversion that will cause it to be despised by any right-thinking, rational person, not just now, but in the future, when the correction is made, when posterity looks back at us and wonders how we could have been so stupid. and that it was all done for show anyway, because Boris was what he feared to upset a few old women. And men who are afraid of women and old women would understandably be treated with the greatest contempt. I'm not saying you shouldn't respect your elders, but when they've clearly gone gaga and haven't got the best interests of the nation in mind, you know, those overreacting women who just want to overreact to show that they care, those kinds of women, I've spoken to them. Quite a few of my female friends are like that. To overreact is to show you care. And if we lived in a gender-balanced society, we would have men saying, there, my dear, it's not the end of the world, you know. It's only a theoretical risk, a very low risk. We can't shut everything down on the off chance that our kid or our whatever won't get done. It's almost equivalent to, I'm reminded of this fairy story of Sleeping Beauty. It was, what was it? Spinning machines. She was born, and then the wicked fairy was annoyed that she hadn't been invited, and she said on her 18th birthday she will prick her finger and die. No, and fall into a deep sleep, and then the king destroyed all the, what they call it, spinning wheels or whatever they did to whatever. Yeah, he did that, and it happened anyway. So I don't know if I can be pulled back from the brink, but I want to be one of the few voices of reason who are saying the same thing. Now, Peter Hitchens, he doesn't like me. He's blocked me because I've said certain things that he doesn't like. And this brings me back to the lack of cooperation amongst people who should really be cooperating. I know there are certain ideas of mine that he cannot bear, but I've made a point of being supporting people who actually behave like enemies towards me, but I'm prepared to be generous and praise them when they say or do the right thing, even if they don't completely agree with me. So Peter Hitchens has his, hang-ups about criticizing unmarried mothers and feminism, probably because he's afraid of his wife or his daughters or whatever, or he's been blackmailed. Who knows? I don't know. But the point is that British men have to be a lot less womanish if they're gonna stop being so womanish. And this extreme risk aversion is contemptible and absurd. And I don't think we should stand for it. I'm not asking you to break any laws. I'm just telling you to think and maybe write to your MP or do something on social media to tell the government that really, if they're scared, they should consult all of us. How could they consult us? Well, I suppose you got the trade unions. Maybe the trade unionists could take a vote. Maybe the medical professions, or all these sort of people could take a vote. The independent contractors, the plumbers, the workmen, people who are just dying to go to work now that the weather is conducive to outdoor work, as well as visits to the seaside. maybe you should ask them about how they'd like the government to behave. And I don't know, is YouGov doing its job, or is it some sort of part, or is it part of a government conspiracy to keep us locked in until we all die of cabin fever? And I suppose part of the conspiracy is YouTube doing something to its algorithms to see, well, how many people are watching me now? Practically no one, I guess. 7, not bad. So, what I'm saying is that we should all be consulted. It's a pity that we don't have, actual local groups like, okay, this is my little idea. I know the Hindus have a caste system, and it's divided into 5, really. So we have the intellectuals and the priests, teachers, and which is who are called the Brahmins, and then we have the Kshatriyas, the warrior caste, and then we have the Vaishyas, who are the merchant class, and then we have the Shudras, who are the laborers, and then the untouchables. So we have 5 people. It's a nice, odd number. So, you'll always get a decision. And, it's not like Solon's system, which only had 4 groups. So if you decided to consult them all, what happens if it's, 2 against 2? It'll be really difficult. So, I know people are not organized in this way. Obviously, if you're a welfare claimant, you just get ignored, right? Because you serve no purpose. So I guess the equivalent of Dalits, untouchables, would be sanitation workers, sanitation engineers, or whatever they call themselves now, dustmen. They're important people. We have to thank them, because if they didn't do their job, we'd soon know. We'd soon know about how things are when the local sewage treatment works is not working. So of course they should be consulted, and all these people. I mean, they should choose somebody who should. So you already know, don't you, that if these groups are already organized, they would say, let's just carry on. Let's just keep calm and carry on. Some of us will die, but we'll take it on the chin. Thank you, Boris. Don't worry about us. Don't be cupped by your pharmaceuticals and experts whom we don't trust. The interesting thing about Peter Hitchens' article was that the foot and mouth disease episode said that he basically said his heart sank when he realized by whom Boris was being advised, and it was the same people from Imperial College who gave the wrong advice about the foot and mouth epidemic, and caused so many healthy cattle to be slaughtered unnecessarily. So there is a lot of waste when you get it wrong, when you get it wrong the other way. Now, I mean, we already know that there is a virus, and it's going to hit us, and some of us prefer to get it over and done with sooner rather than later, rather than cowering and under a bed, and then getting out from under it, and getting whacked by it. So I don't get the impression that the media are giving the alternative view. And I think the alternative view is the view of the overwhelming majority who want life to get back to normal, who say, well, if some of us are going to die, we'll take it on the chin. And that's all I want to say about it, really. So thanks for listening. And now I'll go to bed at 3:30.